It has been more than 20 years since Brooke Lee Henson walked away from her home in Travelers Rest, South Carolina, and yet police in her hometown continue to look for her. They are following new leads and using modern technology to search in new ways. A new tip recently led authorities to search one location with ground penetrating radar. I'm Callie Lyons with FITSNews, and this is Unsolved Carolinas. When 19-year-old Brooke Henson walked away from her Henderson Drive home on July the 4th, 1999, where she'd been partying with friends, she was said to be arguing with her boyfriend and taking off on the 2 a.m. walk in search of cigarettes from a local corner store, a store that was not open at that hour. The boyfriend, Sean Shirley, refused to cooperate with law enforcement. For decades, those have been the details that defined Brooke's disappearance. Despite her case receiving national attention, she has yet to be found. The case was twice featured on 48 Hours when Brooke's case collided with that of another missing girl. Esther Reed also disappeared in 1999 and maintained a life on the run by assuming Brooke's identity. She obtained a birth certificate in her name, was accepted into an Ivy League college, and applied for student loans. The scheme caught the attention of law enforcement when she used Brooke's identity to apply for a job. Her prospective employer was surprised to find her on a list of missing people and alerted police. Sadly, when authorities found out that Brooke's identity was being used, they took it as a sign that she was alive and well, that she had been found. The family would soon learn the heartbreaking truth. This occurrence, several years after Brooke's disappearance, was nothing more than a red herring. There had been no sign of her since she walked off into the night. The search for Esther Reed turned into a nationwide manhunt. A fascination for the tale of the two girls with intersecting storylines attracted national interest, often with the lion's share of the attention paid to the highly intelligent scam artist who was on the run for so long, instead of the flower child from South Carolina who was still missing. After all of these years, the story is changing, and the narrative surrounding her disappearance is taking on new dimension. Travelers Rest Police Chief Ben Ford is leading the charge to find Brooke Henson. He recently told FITSNews of some recent developments in the case and explained why solving this case is so important.
I'm here with Chief Ben Ford of Travelers Rest, South Carolina, and we're going to be talking about the disappearance of Brooke Henson, which happened back in July of 1999. So, just to begin, she was 20 years old at the time of her disappearance, basically walked off from her home, and some people say that's the last place she was seen. But actually, I heard a podcast where you said that's not quite right. She was seen someplace else after that.
Yes, we have statements that say that she was seen at other parties in another part of the county that night. So we believe that even though she walked away from her residence that night, that someone picked her up and she continued to go to other locations and other parties that evening.
Okay. This has been an interesting case because there are a lot of things that have been out there. Well, we have another missing girl, for instance, that comes into the story a few years later, and that kind of blows the story of Brooke up. And I'm curious as to whether that helped get the word out and helped the investigation or convoluted the situation.
I believe it helped get the word out. I don't believe it helped the investigation per se, but as far as Brooke Henson's name and her situation, I believe when Esther Reed came along and had stolen Brooke's identity and all that came about, I believe that all of a sudden a 20-year-old female that was missing from a small town in South Carolina turned into national news that Esther Reed stole her identity. So therefore we got the kind of the limelight a little bit on the Brooke Henson case also.
That's good. It's a very interesting situation. I don't know how often that happens, that you have a missing person's identity stolen, leading the family to believe that possibly they're okay, which would be heartbreaking.
Right. Absolutely.
So what do you think happened to Brooke?
I believe that she was at another party that night, and some type of altercation occurred between her and maybe her boyfriend and maybe some other individuals. I really don't know who all's involved, but I believe that she never made it through the night, whether she died by accidental, for example, if it wasn't intentional that she was killed, but she was, whether she hit her head and died and then it was covered up, or whether that someone, shot her or strangled her. We don't know any of that, of course, because we don't have a body. But my theory is that she never made it through the night, and she's buried somewhere in either the River Falls area of Greenville County or at the water treatment plant in Travelers Rest. That's my theory right now. And speaking of that, yesterday we used some ground penetrating radar to search areas of the water treatment plant. The reason we are just now doing that is another statement has come up recently from an individual that told us that she was buried there and gave us a specific location. So what we did yesterday with the ground penetrating radar was search some areas. Unfortunately, we were unsuccessful in finding anything yesterday. So,
okay. Yeah, I was going to say that's pretty specific, the water treatment plant. And when you say
and
recently,
that's a rumor that's been going around for a long time. If you ask anybody in northern Greenville County, Travelers Rest area, they will all tell you, I heard she was at the water treatment plant. So we don't know if that's just a widespread rumor or if there's some validity to that. Unfortunately, it's 27 acres on that water treatment plant, and without having specific locations and knowing some specific information, it's hard to search underground 27 acres there. So it's just very difficult unless we have some more specific information.
do you think there are still people out there who know exactly what happened to Brooke?
I do. I believe there are several people still alive that know. I also believe that Brooke's boyfriend, who was widely regarded as the main suspect in this case, I believe that he knew what happened to her. I'm not 100% convinced that he did it, but I believe he knew exactly what happened to her and where she was buried. And before he passed away, I believe he was on his way to tell us the truth before he died of an alleged accidental overdose.
Wow. So I'm curious about what makes you think he was on the way to tell you after all this time. Is it because it came back up again, or did something
So
happen?
in 2019, we received some information that led us back to Brooke's residence where she had lived, and her brother still lives there. And there was something that was found in the basement that caused us to be curious about the search of that property. So we received a search warrant in order to go back into the property and search. And when we did, he heard about that. And I believe that he was just tired of being the one that was blamed for Brooke's death. We have a written statement from a friend of his that she swore to us that he told her he was coming to tell us everything. And then the day before he came to tell us, he died of an overdose. So I'll never know if that's true or not, but I do have a statement that from a female friend of his that tells us that he wanted to come clean with what he knew.
Well, and the overdose looks extremely suspicious, I would think.
It does. I've always thought it was suspicious. I've reached out to the Greenville County Sheriff's Office as well as the Greenville County Coroner's Office about it. They stand by their report that it's accidental. So they don't, I guess, share the same feeling of suspicion as I do. So, but unfortunately, that's their case, and I don't have any control on that. So I just have to go by what they tell me.
Okay. And of course, if it was not an accident, that would mean there's still a suspect out there and somebody who wanted to keep the truth from being known, possibly.
That's what I believe, absolutely. And I believe that there are several people out there that still know what happened to Brooke and were involved with either her death and or the disposal of the body. So I believe we do have people out there that know.
Okay. And I was going to ask about that because it seems like moving a body, getting rid of a body, that would be a very difficult job for one person. Even though she was small.
She was small. However, I agree with you. It's a fully limp body where nobody, it's this dead weight is, and I don't, mean that in a excuse the pun, but the weight of a person when they're deceased is their full weight, and so it's difficult even if it's 100 and 110 pounds.
So do you have suspects in mind? Not that you can name them for me, which I understand, but are there people you're looking at?
Right. Yes, absolutely. We have several individuals that we have looked at and are still looking at, and I welcome any and all leads and tips and people that want to talk. Anytime someone wants to discuss this case, I have no problem discussing what I can because I don't want to forget Brooke. I went to the same high school that Brooke went to. I have family members of mine that knew her better than I did. I remember where I was at the night that she disappeared. And this whole community remembers Brooke. So I don't want her to be forgotten.
Yeah, that makes it personal.
It is. It's extra personal for me due to this being my hometown and where I grew up, and the fact that I'm the police chief now, that I really want to put 100% into doing everything I can to solve this case before I retire.
Okay. Well, and so I hope that we can help you with that. I hope that people will listen and contact you, and I'm sure someone somewhere knows something. Yes.
And I encourage anyone that can reach out to me at the police department. They can come by and see me. You can remain anonymous. If you want to contact Crime Stoppers, please do. I will get the Crime Stopper tip, and I won't know who you are. So if people can help in any way, please do. I welcome all the help I can get.
All right. Yeah. It's long past time. And now, since you had family members who knew her, let me ask, often her story is overshadowed by the story of Esther Reed. We seem to know much more about Esther. We hear more about her personality. What was Brooke like?
So Brooke was a kind of a flower child type girl. She was a free-flowing spirit, just happy. I use the word giddy. She was just a live in the moment type person, and she had lots of friends. She enjoyed life and spending time with her friends and family, and she just lived life to the fullest. And I don't she didn't really focus on goals for the future. She just kind of lived in the moment. And there are a lot of people that truly miss her, and I often wonder, what she would be like today. I often think that she'd probably be living in the same house that she grew up in right here in the city, and we'd be seeing her a lot, walking around. She loved to walk and loved nature. So she was a very unique person and very happy person.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. I really appreciate it. Again, this is Police Chief Ben Ford from Travelers Rest, South Carolina. And if you don't mind, give us the contact information where people can reach out to you to talk about Brooke Henson.
Absolutely. So my email address is Ford, FORD, at trpolice.com. You can also find us at travelersrestsc.com. That's our city website, and I'm on there. You can find our contact information there. My non-emergency police line here at the police department is area code 864-834-9029. And of course, Crime Stoppers of Greenville is 23 Crime, area code 864-23 Crime. And please feel free to reach out. I love to get all the help I can. No, I can't do this alone. Me and my officers here, we try and we work hard, but we enjoy working with the community. And this is a community case. It's not just a police department case. This is for the whole community here. So please reach out.
Okay. Is there anything that I've missed or anything else that you'd like to add before we wrap up?
I do want to add that, 24 years ago is a long time. Today, we may not work this case every single day, but as you learned earlier this week, when we tried to schedule this interview, something came up and we were able to work on it for several hours yesterday. So usually every week or two, something comes up and we try to follow up on it. So it's something that's open and active, and we don't want it to go cold. We know it's kind of cold in a way, but we don't want it to go cold. We want to keep working on it, and I just really encourage the public to reach out to me and let's get this case solved. Let's find Brooke and let's lay her to rest like she deserves. So.
All right. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
All right.
If you have information that can help bring Brooke home, submit a tip anonymously through Crime Stoppers or email Chief Ford at ford@trpolice.com or call 864-834-9029. Unsolved Carolinas, sponsored by our friends at Bamberg Legal, is a new series by FITSNews devoted to shining a spotlight on cases which have fallen off of the front page. We hope to tell the stories of those individuals who are seeking answers and justice on behalf of their loved ones. We will dive deeper into their stories, get to know them through their families and friends, and hopefully help find answers for those they have left behind. In every unsolved case, someone out there could know something that provides a missing link, a critical clue that could bring peace to a family in pain, and help them write the next chapter of their stories, even if it's the final chapter. If you know someone who's missing, or has been a victim of an unsolved homicide, email their story to research@fitsnews.com. The more stories we share, the more hope we can spread.